the municipal judge, 1, shall be present and shall preside at municipal court for at least 40 hours per week, unless absent for annual leave, sick leave, or in attendance at a municipal judge's conference. And so I know you've been a frequent attendee here at all of our council meetings. I'm sure that eats up at the 40 hours, and I'm curious to see if there's other times, because I know like the time here doesn't count as because you're not presiding over the court. So I'm curious to see how all that stuff would be integrated together.
I'm not sure I understand your question. We don't have dockets on Monday afternoons. So, and if I have like a doctor's appointment or something, we have an alternate, but I guess I'm not understanding your question.
No, I'm just curious to see if there would be an amendment that is needed for specialty courts so that you can preside over theirs, because our ordinance is pretty specific of just presiding over the municipal court.
It would be helpful.
Okay. And then when it does say this item about shall be present and preside at municipal court for at least 40 hours a week, does that mean present in the building for that amount of time?
I take it to be when the court hours are. I mean, our court's open from 7:30 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday, and we close at 12:30 on Fridays.
And you're able to adhere to the 40 hours?
Yeah, I also have to work on Sunday mornings for probable cause hearings, so yeah.
Okay. Mayor, that's all my questions for the moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a few questions, Judge. Let me kind of go back to earlier when you talked about incompetent, and you said that after so many times it's remanded to district court, I believe?
Every time.
Every time?
Every time.
Okay. So is it, I'm looking at one particular individual who from January 25th, 2021 to March 11th, 2021, he was on a payment plan because he was arrested for criminal trespassing and some other things. Interestingly, on 7/9 of 2021 through 7/3 of 2022, arrested 60 different times and was let go for dismissed or incompetent. He was charged with criminal trespass, assault, indecent exposure, resisting, obstructing arrest, and shoplifting. How can you, if I was to go to district court, will I find his name on, what will I find?
It sounds like it. It sounds like he's been found incompetent, or excuse me, not competent multiple times, and that's not unusual. And you know, somebody can be competent and then become not competent and be not competent and become competent. So it does happen occasionally, but, and remember, the referral doesn't have to come from me. It can come from someone at the jail, defense attorney, the officer, city attorney.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that. So whether or not that's in district court or not. So about how many people do you think you saw in 2022? Approximately. It doesn't have to be exact.
Are you talking about not competent?
No, just everybody that you see, from traffic tickets to criminal trespass. I mean, just approximately. Again, it's not, it doesn't have to be exact.
No, it's actually on one of my slides. Let's see, slide 18. Okay, the total that was filed in 2022 was 6,486.
And of those, how many were put in jail?
Oh, I don't know.
Just give me a rough estimate.
I don't know, because, I mean, it could have been before they were convicted. It could have been that they were arrested on a warrant from another court. So there's no way for me to isolate that.
How many did you put in jail last week?
I don't know.
You don't know how many you put in jail last week? 1, 10?
Well, no, I held some people in jail that I sought prison arraignments.
Well, not prison arraignments. I'm talking that they came before you and put in jail.
Most people enter pleas, and most pleas include a sentence from the prosecutor.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So let's say they don't plead incompetency, and someone comes and they're arrested for criminal trespass, and then they show up, they're released on their own recognizance. Do you tell them, anything like, hey, if I see you here again, I'm going to have to, just like the DWIs have, they have increased penalties as they do more. Do you tell them that, do you talk with them and say, if I see you again, something else is going to happen to you?
Absolutely not. That would be completely unethical for me to do that.
So you can't make that a condition, that if you're letting them out on their own recognizance, and if they...
I thought you were talking about sentencing. No, I do it frequently as conditions of release.
Okay, so...
New charges, failing to attend court,
Okay,
yes.
right. Because I remember one time you telling me that, and now I'm going to just switch for this brief time to homeless. You were telling me that the homeless, the reason why a lot of these are dismissed is because they won't show up. They don't come back for the second hearing.
I don't dismiss them if they don't come back. I issue a warrant.
Okay, all right. So in a warrant for their arrest.
Correct.
Okay. So in March 21st, 2022, the city passed a resolution allowing municipal court to squash the failure to pay warrants that dated back like from 1900 to 2017, amounted to some $3 million. After that date, 2017 to today, have you cleared or got rid of any failure to pay warrants?
We set ability to pay hearings on every case where somebody owes fines and they're not paying. If they show up, we put them on a payment plan. If they don't, and it's the first time, we issue a summons. And then if they don't, it's a warrant.
Okay, but my question is, since after March 2022, because we identified these failure to pay warrants, but it dated to sometime in 2017. Let's just say since 2018, because you started serving in 2017, all right? So since 2018 up until today, have you unilaterally squashed these failure to pay warrants?
We did. We quashed the warrants and set everything for a failure to pay hearing if they owed and weren't paying.
Okay, so...
If they had not updated their address with us and we got return mail, that would trigger a warrant.
Okay, I understand about the warrant. I'm talking about, what I'm trying to get at is, you have to, that's city money, that's taxpayers' money that's owed, right? That's why the city council has to sign off on that resolution that we did in March of last year, okay? So I don't know how more clear to ask you this, Judge, is since 2018, I'll just make it since 2018, so 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, till today, these failure to pay warrants, have you just squashed them and basically said, oh, you don't need to pay that anymore?
If we didn't have information like an order to show cause or returned mail, I had to give them an ability to pay hearing. And if they don't show up, it's the summons and then the warrant.
So you're saying you have not squashed or get rid of any failure to pay warrants since 2018, other than the time that we gave permission, the court's permission to do that in March 21 of 2022. That's the only time those failure to pay warrants, those are the only ones that you were allowed to just squash, to let those go away.
No, we did void some warrants because I didn't want the court to become like Ferguson, Missouri, where you just incarcerate people because they're poor. So yes, I did. That's why I wanted to have ability to pay hearings.
Okay, so when did the city council approve those? Because again, even though we keep separate, we are theoretically the executive branch of the city, and that's the money, and that's why it has to. There's a city code, Las Cruces Municipal Code, that requires, and that's why we did it in March of 2022, and that's why I wanted to find out if you did squash failure to pay warrants from 2018 on up to now, and you said you think you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they were issued without hearings, yes. Go ahead.
I believe I might have a copy, but can you get me that copy? Or
A copy of
those warrants that you squashed, the failure to pay, because that has to have city council approval, Judge. That's why we did the resolution in March of 2022, March 21st.
Well, I'm not giving them amnesty on paying. They still owe the money.
I agree, they still owe the money, but again, it has to be, the approval for that to happen is for the city council. Like, for example, when the city gets rid of utility bills, that doesn't mean that they don't owe us. That just means that we don't carry it on the books. We've got rid of them. And I think much like this is the same thing here.
Well,
So,
I think that the court has discretion to quash warrants and try
Then
to
why
get
did-
the money other ways.
then why did we do the resolution to do this in March of 2022?
I am unfamiliar with it. I was not involved and I wasn't here, so.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I think that's really the only questions that I have. And, okay. If you want to go ahead and proceed with your,
Okay, I'm sorry this didn't make it into a slide. I thought it did, but, so if you'll go back and look at the slide for, the police hours and also indigent representation costs. What I want to present to you is something that's being done in the Santa Fe Municipal Court. It's similarly situated. They have a full-time judge, an attorney that occasionally hears cases. Everything else is pretty similar, but they have a single defense attorney and a single prosecutor so that the officers don't have to come in and spend thousands of hours at pretrial hearings, which is probably one of the least favorite parts of their job, I'm guessing. And what it does is it eliminates invoices for multiple attorneys. There aren't lawsuits from panel attorneys suing us for payment. There's no need for auditing and accounting of attorney appointments, no need to create contracts for attorneys. You stop having no-shows by panel attorneys. It saves thousands of dollars even after hiring a full-time defense attorney and a full-time prosecutor. Appeals by indigent defendant will always have the same attorney as the underlying matter. And by the way, the public defender presentation, that was incorrect. We do appear in district court on appeals. It saves officer hours. Officers only